On today's Strictly Vikings, we have a fantastic interview with former Vikings linebacker, current sideline reporter Ben Leber. A fantastic interview. If you're a Vikings junkie like I am, you're going to absolutely love it. We talk this Vikings team, we talk 2009 Vikings team, we talk Ben's career, everything. You guys are going to absolutely love it. Great interview. We're going to take our side-eye look around the league after we recap the Vikings Cardinals game. We're going to take our Facebook scroll of the week and news alert. The fans are still upset about the Minnesota Vikings winning. Doesn't make any sense to me. We're going to preview the Falcons game and Kirk Cousins' return to Minnesota. And we'll wrap it all up with our ChatGPT player of the day. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, and there are zero reasons not to consider the Minnesota Vikings NFC contenders. It doesn't make any sense to me. 10-2, second best record in the NFC. We've beaten quality opponents. Our two losses are to two quality opponents, playoff teams, the best team in the NFL people are talking about, and yet nobody considers this team a legit threat to win the conference. And I'm not saying to win the Super Bowl because I don't want to be compared to the AFC teams. I want to be compared to the teams in our conference because we have to get to the Super Bowl first in order to win it. I don't understand it. The Vikings went on the road, won 3 straight games. One against a Bears team that has been playing a lot better. A Bears team that should have beaten the Lions or at least went to overtime with them if it wasn't for Dweeberflus on the sideline. And luckily, he's canned. Actually, not lucky for the Vikings because it seemed like with Dweeberflus there, it was just a free win. We'll talk about that a little bit later too, but it doesn't make any sense to me that nobody talks about this team. We have a great head coach. We have some of the best offensive weapons, if not the best offensive weapons in football, the best run defense in football, with one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire league. And nobody wants to talk about him. And you can say Sam Darnold this, Sam Darnold that, but all he does is continue to get better. He had a little slouch there in the middle of the season. Everyone does it. Not everybody's going to play lights out every single game. And Sam Darnold's been getting better. He's on the uprise. And if you think this team is going to be handicapped by the performance of Sam Darnold, I don't know if I can see that happening because I really haven't seen it yet. I've seen it to where he's played bad games, but the Vikings still come out on top. And I think with just the game plan of Kevin O'Connell going into a playoff game, it's going to be something different. It's going to be something special. And there's no reason I don't think this team can't win a playoff game this season. And we're going to talk about the expectations that were before the season and that are now with Ben Leber in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the Vikings versus Cardinals game, another nail biter. That's just what the Vikings do. They just continue to win games, and you can't be mad about that. Aaron Jones, I think it's the last 4 games he's fumbled on the first or second possession. Not ideal for momentum purposes and trying to swing it in your favor, especially when you're on the road, but even when you're at home too. Get the crowd up, get the crowd ready to go, and when you're fumbling early and often, it's not a good sign. I expect Akers to get a lot more work. I think he's looked great. Chandler got a couple snaps, but he's more on the special teams side now. Cam Akers, I thought he's looked really good. I still believe in Aaron Jones 100%. He made the game-winning touchdown catch. He bounced back. Everyone still believes in him in that locker room. It's just if he can't pick up the fumble problems, it's going to be hard to play him down the stretch. Offense was struggling to pick up the blitz in the first half. It looked like the communication was off. I don't know if that was like a Dalton Reisner thing being replaced by, or no, Dalton Reisner replacing Ed Ingram. I don't know if some of the communication was off, but there was guys just being completely left unblocked. You at least got to get a hand on them or something. So Darnold has a chance to at least throw the ball away. He didn't even have a chance to do that on some of these sacks. The Boo Birds were out at US Bank Stadium in that first half after the offense couldn't get it going. I don't think you can give them the Boo Birds at home when I heard on multiple occasions that the stadium wasn't even that loud, like on defense. And if you're not going to be loud on defense and make it a factor in the game, I don't think you can boo bird this offense. The Cardinals were playing good defense. The Cardinals are a respectable team. They're on the verge of a playoff push. I mean, they could win their division easily. That division is a crapshoot, but they still could win the division. They could be in the playoffs. It's a good quality team. The offense got it going in the second half, and I just don't think the boo birds were necessary, to be honest. I don't really like it, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like I said, offense picked it up in the second half. Huge answer by Sam Darnold when the Cardinals went up 13. That was a huge drive to get down into the red zone, score to Johnny Munt, make some plays happen with your feet. Just an all-around perfect drive that the Vikings needed in that moment. You know, because if you didn't get points on that drive, it would have felt like a long shot to get back into that game. Probably wouldn't have gotten back into that game. So great drive by Sam Darnold and the entire offense bouncing back when you needed to bounce back. Complementary football. The defense let up a score. The offense needed to give the defense a break, put a long drive together, put a touchdown on the board. That's what they did. And then when the offense needed to stop from the defense, they got him. They got him in the first half, all first half long. That's complementary football. That's a sign of a good football team when you're doing that. Offense picks it up. When the defense isn't going, defense sacks up when the offense isn't going. Complementary football. Jordan Addison had a quieter game today, but he came up needed, or he came up the most when he was needed. And, you know, I can't say it enough. Jordan Addison is one of, if not the second best best wide receiver 2 in the NFL. And the proof is in the pudding. He's a beast. Let's just put it at that. Justin Jefferson becomes the 4th wide receiver to record 1,000 yards in their first 5 seasons in the NFL. Mike Evans, AJ Green, Randy Moss. It's crazy the Vikings have 2 of them. That's telling you how much we just breed wide receiver talent. Not to mention Diggs, not to mention Thielen, not to mention Carter. All these guys. Beasts. It's crazy the Vikings have had all that. Because I feel like when I was growing up, the Vikings wide receiver talent was terrible. Like there was a couple years, the Laquan Treadwell years, all those guys, and luckily we kind of pulled Diggs and Thielen out of our ass. But you know, those years were like, damn, we don't have any wide receivers. It was kind of the Adrian Peterson years. We didn't have any wide receivers at all. So I love to see it. Sam Darnold goes for 235 with 2 touchdowns and a game-winning drive. Kirk Cousins throws for 4 interceptions and a game-losing interception. How do we feel about that? It's a little, that's something. I mean, Kirk Cousins, that's losing your team a game. Sam Darnold, I don't know if it's winning your team a game. I don't know if you put the team on your back, but you had a game-winning drive. So, fuck it. It's a game-winning. You put the team on your back and you won, man. That's a game winner, making game-winning plays. Sam Darnold, that's what he does, man. I love to see it. I don't love to see the downfall of Kirk. I don't mind Kirk at all. But at the same time, it's like you look back at the decision to move on from him, and it's looking great. And we're going to preview that game after the Ben Leber interview, and we're going to talk about whether the fans should boo or cheer or stay silent for Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of options on the table. We'll get into it after the Ben Leber interview. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Defense was playing great in the first half. Giving up long drives and forcing them to kick field goals it's not the best thing in the world because you're going to get tired out, but it's also not the worst. You don't want to give up touchdowns, obviously. I don't need to explain this to you. You guys are smart listeners. But when you're giving up field goal drives and you can just wait on this offense to get into the end zone, that's not a bad thing at all. I love that. I love that, you know, recipe for trying to win games. Let's just say that. Huge stop after the Jones fumble. I mentioned that. Don't allow the momentum to be switched, especially when you're at home. You don't want to lose the crowd. So that was a huge stop. Michael Wilson. I don't know where this dude came from. He was making some unbelievable plays. He was literally looking like prime Randy Moss the way he was snagging this ball out of the air. That tipped pass from Van Ginkel, one hand got it. There was another one on 3rd down. He just went up and got it, took a shot to the ribs. Like it was crazy. He was looking like a freaking beast. Fabian Moreau, that it was off to a good start. Let's put it at that. It was off to a great start. I had confidence. He was getting going. I was looking forward to it. But then they really started to target him. Marvin Harrison scored on him. Marvin Harrison got 2-3 more catches on him. It was looking bad. A couple pass interferences. So all those people who were kind of bashing Stephon Gilmore early in the year, like, where is he at? What is he doing? He's not doing this. He's not doing that. Like, now you see what it is without him. And they went away from Fabian Moreau later in the game because they were like, we just can't have this dude in there. And yet I kind of feel bad for him because B-Flow was kind of putting him in some rough spots. He was putting him on an island. And if I'm Fabian Moreau, I'm like, dude, I've been sitting on the bench all year. Don't put me on an island against Marvin Harrison, one of the best rookie wide receivers in the NFL. Don't put me on an island right away. I mean, I'm just trying to get my feet wet a little bit. Put him in some zone. Don't blitz the house. And it's like, it's a double-edged sword. I know that B-Flow wants to continue what he does, even with Stephon Gilmore in there. But at the same time, maybe you need to adjust if the Cardinals are just absolutely shredding you with Marvin Harrison against Fabian Moreau in that matchup. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Blake Cashman has been unstoppable. He had a bunch of tackles. We're going to talk about him with Ben Leber a little bit more, just getting Ben's linebacker IQ on Blake Cashman, so I won't go too much into him, but he's been playing fantastic. Jalen Redmond making plays. I don't think it was back-to-back, but it might have been back-to-back tackles for loss. He didn't even play that much, but I think he had the highest PFF grade on the defense. He got a game ball from KOC. So a hidden gem from the United Football League that the scouting department obviously did some great work on, and he's been making impact plays for this defense. Expect his reps to go up a lot more if he's making plays like that. That would be a huge pickup if he can keep making plays like that. I mean, that is like exactly what this Vikings team needed on defense. An interior defensive line pressure to make plays just like that one. So I love to see it. The drive at the end of the game, I kind of want to go through. So Greg Olsen was talking about it on the broadcast. I get what Greg Olsen was saying. Like, the Cardinals probably should have went for it because the Vikings aren't going to go for it on fourth down. If they're in field goal range, they're going to kick it, tie the game. You're probably playing for overtime. But the fact that you kicked it, now the Vikings need a touchdown. They're going to go for it on fourth down. If they score a touchdown, you're most likely going to be losing. Then you need a drive to win, to where if you just go for it and you don't get it, or you go for it and you get it, that's the game. That's how I always want to play for. I always want to play, if I only need a certain amount of yards, 3 and under, 6 and under, whatever it is, I'm trusting my offense to get those if that means I win the game. I don't want to leave it I don't want to have the ball in the other's offense's hands with a chance to go win the game. I don't want that at all. And again, double-edged sword, because you can go either way. Do you want them to only need a field goal when you drive down, or do you want them to have to score a touchdown? It goes both ways. But that last drive was like killer because they took like 8-9 minutes off the clock. I think they got it with like 10 minutes to go in the fourth, and they brought that thing down all the way, 2-3 minutes. Like, it was bad. So it was huge for the defense to hold them to a field goal, allow this offense to go down. Kevin O'Connell do his work, do what he does best, execute in late game situations. That's what KOC does best. Wrapping it up here, again, I want to highlight the complementary football. If you talk to any former player, any former coach, it's complementary football is one of the most important pieces of a good team. The offense picks it up when the defense can't get it going. Defense picks it up when the offense can't get it going. It plays a huge role into forming a good football team. And the Vikings are playing some of the best complementary football in the league right now. And I absolutely love it. And if you can execute late game situations like KOC does, like Brian Flores does, you can execute at that high of a level week in and week out, you're going to win a lot of football games in the NFL. Winning is hard in the NFL. You can't apologize for doing so, and you'll take a win no matter how you get it. Over 80% of the NFL games this season have been one-score games. So the narrative that the Vikings can't be contenders because they only play in close games is complete garbage. Just go through the final scores of each week And you're going to find at least 5, 6, 7 one-score games every single week in the NFL. It's what it is. It's because the margin between being a bad team and a good team is so slim. They're all professional players. They're all getting paid millions. They're all great head coaches. I mean, they're not all great head coaches, but they're all coaches that know. Actually, I'm not even going to say that because Dweeberflus is a joke. But anyway, great win for the Vikings. Great complimentary football. Keep executing at this high of a level between the coaching staff and the players. You're going to win a lot of football games. Let's take our side eye look around the league. We're starting with the Bears. What a disgrace to the game of football that was. Dweeberflus. People can sit there and blame it on Caleb Williams, but you have to be able to help your rookie quarterback out in a sticky situation like that. If your quarterback looks flustered, and he did a little bit, and you got to think about what Caleb Williams is thinking in his head. He's thinking, I don't want to use a timeout here because I don't want to get chewed at. I don't want to get chewed out if we didn't want to use that timeout then. I don't want to do this because maybe the coach has a different plan. Caleb Williams is thinking, if we want to use a timeout here, Matt Eberflus is going to call it. And obviously, they hadn't talked about this, which is just a sign of a terrible coach and a terrible team and a terrible organization. First time the Bears have ever fired a head coach in season. In like 100 years. In the 100-year history of the Bears. It's crazy. But again, Dweeberflus, why are you not helping your rookie quarterback? That is such an important game for other teams in the NFC. That's an important game to, one, keep your job, to two, get some momentum in the locker room going, and not, they just keep inventing ways to lose. The Vikings invent ways to win because that's what good teams do. The Bears invent ways to lose because they're a bad team and that's what they do. It was unbelievable to me that they executed that so poorly on Thanksgiving. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I forgot to wish you guys. I hope you guys all had a blessed, thankful Thanksgiving. It's the best time of year. Spend time with your family. Packers got to play the Dolphins in the cold. Of course the game went like that. The Dolphins in their candy-ass uniforms, they can't play in the cold. They need like an alternate black uniform to go on the road in the cold. Or like an orange. Or like no, not orange. They need black. Or even just the white looked fine, but it's the teal and the neon. It looks candy ass, and you can't play games in the cold like that with those uniforms. I just can't. And it looks like they're running in mud when they're playing in the cold. I don't know how they ever expect to be good with an offense like this and a scheme like that if they have to go on the road in the playoffs and play in the cold every single year. It doesn't make any sense to me. They get better. I don't know. Tyreek Hill could do it in the cold in Kansas City, but now he just can't. I don't understand it. Black Friday football is stupid. That was one hell of a game. Again, Chiefs inventing ways to win. That's what good teams do. But Black Friday football is so unnecessary, so stupid. Just the 3 o'clock games on a Sunday is the worst. Why would you put a game on Black Friday? Put that in the 3 o'clock slate. Have it be 4. Everyone's more engaged. It drives me nuts when there's only 3 games because it's the most boring slate ever. But the Black Friday game is the most unnecessary thing of all time. Crazy game. Am I surprised the Chiefs won? Hell no. It's the Raiders. Kirk Cousins. 4 interceptions. Game-losing interception. That was a very rough outing. And those interceptions were bad. Like, they were just baiting him into them. They were just baiting him into interceptions. And he was falling for it. He doesn't have the velocity he used to. He doesn't have the quick decisions he used to. Could it be a KOC thing? It could. Could it be an aging thing? Yes. I think it is that. Could it be that he's coming off one of the worst injuries you could get when you're 30-plus years old? Yes. Could be all of that. And he played probably one of his worst games of his career last week. And you know what that means? He's probably going to play one of his best against the Vikings this weekend because that's just what seems to happen to the Minnesota Vikings, and that's their luck. And they always seem to draw the short straw on situations like that. So we'll see. But man, that was a rough outing by Kirk Cousins. Chargers are good. Don't get me wrong. Their defense is good, coached well, but that was a very, very rough showing. Seahawks got a big win considering what they were down. Like, I took them live at plus 270 money line. They were like plus 500 at one point. It was a big win for them to stay race in the NFC West. That division is an absolute crapshoot. Literally any team could win it, and the Vikings could be playing one of those teams if they do win it. No, they probably won't. No, they could, because the NFC South could be worse. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but the Vikings could very well end up playing one of those teams. Obviously, we've already played the Niners, Cardinals, Rams, and we have yet to play the Seahawks. So we'll be familiar with anyone who comes out of that division. On the other hand, Rodgers stinks. It's crazy to me that he can get up on that podium and just like not say anything about him sucking. He always says there's 11 guys on the field and sometimes it's my fault. It's like, dude, it's all your fault. You stink. You threw a 90-plus yard in pick six after missing a wide open Garrett Wilson in the end zone. Wide open. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Wide open Garrett Wilson. Next play, 90-yard pick six to a D lineman, to Leonard Williams. Crazy play by Leonard Williams, but oh my God, the Jets might be the biggest disaster / letdown in sports history. I think Greenberg said that, and I completely agree. Rams escape with a W. Again, another big win in the NFC West. Taysom Hill out for the season. That sucks. Taysom Hill, arguably one of the best football players in the entire NFL, just because of all the stuff that he does. Not saying that he excels at anything crazy, but he does it all. He's a fun player to watch. Sucks that he's out for the season. I think the Eagles are better than the Lions. They beat the Ravens. They look good. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, you put them together, that's Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, I like the mobility of him. I like the Eagles' weapons better. St. Brown and Jameson Williams are fine, but Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, when they're healthy, that's towards the top of the league with any duo up there. And the way these rookie corners are playing, that tackle that DeJean had on Henry, man, that did something to me, man. Former Iowa Hawkeye. It was a great tackle. And let me tell you, this Eagles team is good. Good. I put a lot of money on them to win the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago. They're good. They're getting hot. They're a serious threat to the Lions in the NFC. And you can go ahead and say the Lions are the best team in the NFC. That's fine with me. But when these two teams, if they meet in the NFC Championship game, it's going to be one hell of a game. And home field advantage is going to play a big factor in that. Bryce Young might be back. The Panthers are doing a great job tanking, but like staying competitive, if you know what I mean. Like going into a game against the Bucs in overtime, like that's a win for them because they still lost. Like you're going to want the pick, and you're going to want that pick to be as high as possible. But the fact that Bryce Young is playing good, you're gaining some momentum in that locker room. It's a great sign for this team. The 49ers aren't good anymore. Their defense is terrible. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, front runner for the MVP, just got engaged to Haley Steinfeld. Great job, man. You're succeeding in life. You are the MVP front runner in the NFL. You're 10-2. You're the king of Buffalo. You're marrying a very hot woman, and you're a 100 millionaire. So Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. He's undoubtedly living one of the best lives out of any man in America, out of any man in the entire world right now. So congrats to Josh Allen. Commanders got back on track with a convincing win, whatever. And Cowboys-Giants, that game happened. That concludes our side-eye look around the league. We're going to get into our Facebook scroll of the week. If you guys are new here, Vikings Facebook. It is one of the craziest, most homer takes and sayings about the Vikings that you will ever hear in your entire life. And every week I take my scroll through my Facebook groups of my Vikings fans and friends, and I collectively put together the best posts I think I can find, and some crazy stuff comes out of it. Let's just say that. I never say names, but if you want to go look it up who said it, I'm sure you can find it in some Facebook group somewhere. Here we go. The Vikings legitimately have a chance to end this man's career next week, and it's Kirk Cousins. This dopey, anti-vax, overrated, overpaid blight on the Vikings franchise who took a mean, badass squad on the cusp of a Super Bowl and turned them into mush will soon see how quickly the NFL can turn on you. Let's effing go. I mean, you could safe to say this dude was not a fan of Kirk Cousins when he was in Minnesota. And people are legitimately saying that if Kirk Cousins sucks next week against the Vikings, Michael Penix could be in line to start the remainder of the season. I would believe it, to be honest with you. I mean, that 4 picks, he hasn't thrown a touchdown in 3 games. So big week for Kirk Cousins, both in his return, for him to remain the starter, for him not to get there's a bunch of stuff on the line for Kirk Cousins this week. So we'll see how we see if he folds under pressure, if he rises to the occasion. Someone said, and now you see why Turner hasn't been on the field much. Yeah, I mean, Turner, he's just making some typical rookie moves. He's like playing hero ball out there when he should just be like containing, run fitting. Like, he just needs to do his job. And he needs to put weight on, and he'll do that. But it's too early to call him anything close to a bust right now. So let's just hold off on that. Someone said, I have a feeling Falcons will start Penix Jr. next week. That would be the worst possible situation for the Vikings. No film on him. You want the juice from Kirk Cousins' return in the stadium and both on the team, because almost everybody on this team knows Kirk because he was there last year, and they're probably friends with Kirk, but they know damn well they want to beat him. So I feel like the move would be fine for the Falcons. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Someone said, so are we Packers fans this week, or can you stomach rooting for them? LOL. Yeah, dude. Thursday night, Lions-Packers. That is a big game. That is a big game for both the Lions, for all three, Lions, Packers, Vikings. This is going to play a huge role into where these teams finish. Lions are at home. I think they're 3.5-point favorites. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard-fought game, and I can't wait to watch it. And to be honest with you, I haven't decided who I'm rooting for yet. I can't tell if I want the Lions to win. I think I want the Lions to win just because I hate the Packers and I hate to see them win, especially if they beat a good Lions team. Like, I don't want that at all. But if the Packers do win, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because the Vikings would have a clear shot at that number 1 seed in the NFC. They'll be competing with the Eagles a little bit in the tiebreakers, but like if the Packers win, that Week 18 matchup against the Lions could be for the division. That would be insane. Someone said, fire B-Flow, fire KOC, bench Darnold, time for rebuild. I mean, this was obviously tweeted during the first half. It's crazy to me that you can tweet something like this during a first half of a football game and not let the entire thing play out. I get that you're in the heat of the moment, but come on, dude, let's be rational here. First half, and we weren't even, what were we down at half? 3? We weren't even, like, it was a close game. I don't know what bro is tweaking about. All right, here's a picture of Sam Bradford. If it wasn't for injury, I think this quarterback would have taken us very close to a Super Bowl appearance, if not a title. When he played, he always looked sharp, and his passes were beautiful and accurate. He still holds the Vikings single-season record for most completed passes, 395. See, as much as I want to say I agree with you, it's like it's such a big if he stayed healthy. That was the biggest thing about Sam Bradford. He couldn't stay healthy no matter what. So you could say that, but it's just what a big if. A lot of hypotheticals in the Vikings fan world. The O-line deserves most of the credit for Sam's season. Fight me. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, dude. The O-line can do a lot for sure, but Sam Darnold's still throwing the ball, and he needs to throw it accurately, and he needs to make the right decision. And as much as the O-line has been great, and for the most part, let's just say that, even without Darisaw, as much as the O-line has been playing good, you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's all the offensive line credit. I can agree they deserve more credit, sure, but everything plays a role in the Sam Darnold success this season. After playing against Williams and Murray, two of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, Cousins will seem like a statue. Now that's facts. And I hope Kirk Cousins does like the things that always piss Vikings fans off the most. The not moving around in the pocket, hanging on to the ball too long, not protecting the ball in the pocket. Like if he does 3 or 4 of those, Vikings fans are going to eat that up because that is what Vikings fans couldn't stand about the dude. That he couldn't move up in the pocket, take off and run. He couldn't bounce outside kind of like Sam Darnold does now. It's going to be a treat if he does those annoying habits against the Vikings. Fans are going to love watching that. Someone said, simply wild to me that anybody would say we should fire our head coach. He literally has the best start in 10 years thus far in our team's history. So it says most wins during first 45 games as the Vikings head coach. Kevin O'Connell is number 1 with 29. The best start in Minnesota Vikings history for a coach. And people are at his throat for absolutely no reason. Doesn't make any sense. Number 2 is Dennis Green with 28. 3 is Jerry Burns with 26. 4 is Bud Grant with 25. And 5 is Mike Zimmer with 25. Mike Zimmer, Bud Grant. They the same people? Never seen them in the same room together. Actually, I have seen them in the same room together. TCF Bank Stadium. But yeah, Kevin O'Connell, off to a great start. He's going to be Minnesota's coach for a very long time. Hate to break it to you, the people who want him fired. He's going to be here for a very long time. And you should be happy about it. Someone said Darnold is a gamer. Stud under pressure. I know he should be our quarterback moving forward. I've been seeing a lot of this too. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Because if you pay Sam Darnold, you find yourself right back in the situation you were with Kirk Cousins. And I promise you people, if Sam Darnold can do it, you got to have faith JJ McCarthy can do it. And the difference is that someone's going to pay Sam Darnold millions. JJ McCarthy is going to be on that rookie contract. He's going to give the Vikings all the flexibility in the world to do what they want with that extra money. Someone said Aaron Jones is a double agent. So people are saying the Packers sent him here to screw with the Vikings. Yeah, I don't think that's the case considering Aaron Jones has been almost fantastic this season. So I don't want to hear that. At what point do the Vikings explore extending Sam Darnold? Nobody knows what J.J. McCarthy will be able to do, especially coming back from injury. Could be a backward step next year. Yeah, see, this is just bullshit. No, we're not extending this dude. I don't care how much money it is, we're not extending. I want the rookie quarterback on the rookie contract. That gives you the most flexibility, and that is the recipe for success right now in the NFL. Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, Bo Nix is balling out. Patrick Mahomes did it on his rookie deal for a while. It's all around the league, and that's what you got to do right now in the NFL. All right, that concludes our Facebook Scroll of the Week. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get to our Ben Leber interview right now. On the other end, we're going to preview the Vikings versus Falcons game, end it with our ChatGPT player of the day. Here's Ben Leber. All right, we now welcome on a very, very, very special guest to the show. Former Minnesota Vikings linebacker, sideline reporter. I mean, he does it all. Let's just leave it at that. Ben Leber. Ben, I appreciate you joining the show. And first things first, I just want to hear your thoughts on this season. I mean, we're already overachieving, to say the least. We cashed the win total in 9 games. Just how are you feeling about this team as a whole?
Well, I think I share the same feeling like a lot of people. Well, first and foremost, like it's good to be on with you. I appreciate the time and the ask. And I love everything that you're doing. I think just a sidebar. I've been watching what you've been doing for a while, not knowing exactly who you were, and then you came to one of my shows at Mystic Lake, and introduced yourself, and it was nice to get sort of a face to the name. And so been respecting your work for a while. So keep it up, man.
I appreciate it.
It's good to be on with you. So I think this unexpected success is just the same feeling I have for the rest of the fan base. Is we didn't know what we were going to get out of Sam Darnold. Everybody's excited about the future with McCarthy. This is like this whole gap year, and yeah, we have some good individual parts, and of course we've got Justin Jefferson, the addition of Aaron Jones. Like all of these things seem like they were going to point to a strong season. I don't think anybody expected this strong of a season, and I don't think we expected Sam to be playing at the level, especially as he's been playing at lately, to be so consistent throughout the year. So I think that the team absolutely, as we all know, record-wise, is a playoff team. And I'm just they should win at least the first round. And, what happens after that, I don't know. We still have to see how this team sort of polishes up at the end of December and into the playoffs. And you just never know. There's a lot of strong teams out there in the NFC, but the way that our team plays and the way we stick together, there's no reason why we can't compete and win a bunch of games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I said before the season started that if the Vikings were to make the playoffs, that would be a huge success of a season, and that they would have that momentum going forward. And with McCarthy, taking the whole year off, it's like it would have all leaned into what a great 2025 season would be. And I mean, what is it with these close games too? It's like I think fans they see the record and then they think that we should be blowing these, kind of mediocre middle of the pack teams out. But it's like, since Kevin O'Connell's been here, that's just not really what the Vikings do. And honestly, I don't think Vikings fans know how good they have it with Kevin O'Connell as their head coach. I mean, they couldn't have hit a better head coaching hire, 3 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, there's an obvious reason why he's near the top of the list for coach of the year. And it seems like it's getting stronger and stronger with every week. The only problem is Mike Tomlin keeps winning games too. And Dan Campbell keeps winning games, and knowing their injury history on their team, that's a really strong accomplishment too. I mean, they have some talented guys and everybody, it's hard to pick coach of the year for a team that's been predicted to win the Super Bowl, but when they have 9 to 10 guys that are significant injuries, if not lost for the season, that all could have been significant starters and contributors, that's good coaching, man. So he deserves it too. Even the guy that we played yesterday, Jonathan Gannon, I saw he was on one list as like maybe the 6th highest odds to win coach of the year, and rightfully so. They've got a really talented team. But I'm with you. We should really appreciate, and I really do think the fans do appreciate how good KOC is and the staff that he's built around him. Why we continue to win these close games or be in these close games, I wish I had a better understanding. I think the one that drives me crazy a little bit is the Chicago game. The Chicago game, the way that we let them back into the game at the end, that was more disheartening than any of the other 4 games that we've played recently. The road games, look, it's tough. It's tough to go on the road. I know that Jacksonville is Jacksonville, but you just didn't know what you're going to get. And they have individual parts that are pretty good too. And in Tennessee, I mean, they were kind of hitting their stride a little bit when we were starting to play them, and Will Levis was starting to play so much better, and he was coming back from getting dinged up. So we're kind of catching these teams at the right time for them. And same with Caleb in Chicago. He was just coming off his first game with Thomas Brown, and he looked great. I mean, he looked like a completely different quarterback. And then we face him, and he looks even better. And so, we got Caleb at his absolute best, and we'll see him again in a couple of weeks. So we'll see how that all plans out. So I do think that there's a little bit of merit in the fact that the teams are maybe better than they were on paper, and going on the road to face them is not easy. But we're not built like the Lions when they're just demolishing people, because we don't run the football as strong as they do. And I think in those situations, they just wear people out and the game gets out of hand because they're just trying to run the football, but yet nobody can stop them. So there's a little difference in philosophy and how the teams are built too.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you mentioned those 3 road games. It's like, I mean, you were traveling for 3 road games too. And it's like traveling 3 weekends in a row isn't easy at all. Even when you're just the regular casual person, I can't even imagine playing football games and practicing leading up to it and then hopping on a flight 3 straight weekends. I mean, to get out of there with 3 wins was a good sign.
Yeah. And I will say that even from a player's standpoint, and I'll be on the staff side of things, the first road trip is always fun because you'll always look forward to, like, for instance, we're going to have 3 home games and then we're going to go to Seattle. That's going to feel so nice because it
Right.
also is nice to use the road as a way to decompress, get away from some distractions at home, get a really good night of sleep. But you're right. When you tack on 3 in a row, it gets a little daunting. Even by the last road trip, I'm like, I know this is a short road trip to Chicago, but
Yeah.
I don't even want to I don't even want to go to the facility on a Saturday and check in and get on the bus and do this whole thing. So yeah, it can wear on you.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, getting into your career a little bit. So you played against Brett Favre as a Viking before he came to Minnesota. I kind of what was the vibe around the team and the locker room when you guys found out that he was going to be a Viking? I mean, was it just like, oh, we're instant Super Bowl contenders, like we got a squad here? Like, what was that from going from facing one of the best of all time to now he's your buddy, he's your teammate in the locker room? What was that like?
Well, it was special, first of all, to have that relationship and then to continue to have that relationship. He and I still stay in contact, so it's been really cool that's a part of at least my journey so far. I got to be honest, it was exciting but relieving at the same time because the long story is we thought we were going to have him back in 2008. And all the rumors through training camp was he wanted to leave the Packers. And not only that, it even started before that. So, all the wheels kind of been turning, the connection to Bevel and Childress and the system. We all knew that he wanted to get out of Green Bay and he wanted to come to Minnesota. And the whole Ryan Longwell connection that obviously helped as well. So we had known for over a year that his first desire was to go interdivision to the Vikings. Well, obviously the Packers, and I feel why they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to trade him right away to the Vikings. Why would you want to do
Right.
that? So it was kind of just relief. It was like, oh, this is actually happening. And then again, when it all happened and he walked in the locker room with his cargo shorts on, it was very surreal. It was I can't believe that this guy that we played against for so many years is standing right here. And it was instant. But the magnetism that he has is instant. There's few people that you end up being around in your lives that you play with or you work with that has this gravitational pull, and he had it. I mean, everybody
They call that aura nowadays.
Yeah, he's got all the aura points. He has W Riz, and I think that's about as much as I know. So he's got all of it.
That's exactly right. And man, that's awesome.
I'll even throw another one. He's the opposite of Meep, whatever that is.
Meep, man, I don't even know that one. I mean, I'm getting to the age to where it's like I have little cousins and they say some stuff to me and I'm like, man, I don't even know what that is. And my job is social media. It's like I got to stay on top of this stuff. It's like I can't even tell you what some of this stuff means. But man, it's crazy. I think that 2009 team, I think that's the best team the Vikings have had since '98. I think that's a pretty clear mark. I mean, you could throw 17 in there, but it's like with Favre, it just felt a lot more solidified with, than some run with Case Keenum at quarterback. Not bashing Case Keenum at all, but
No.
It's like when you got Favre, anything is possible back there. So, yeah, I mean, sticking with that season, you had an interception and a fumble recovery in that divisional round game against the Cowboys. So that was actually the first Vikings game I can ever remember. Like I was there at the game, at the Dome. I was sitting in the end zone. I can't really remember the details from the game. I've watched it back, but all I can remember is that is the loudest football game I have ever been to in my entire life. I mean, is that yours, or do you have another one that tops it?
Yeah, I would say the walk-off winner to Greg Lewis back of the end zone against the Niners. That's the loudest individual
crowd pop
situation, that I've ever been a part of. I mean, when I hear that call, I still get chills from PA. But from a 60-minute standpoint, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was the most electric game that I've ever played in. It was fun to beat them in a way that we just kind of beat them down. There wasn't even close. I still remember Keith Brooking when we tacked on another touchdown just running the football like towards the end of the game. He comes running over, he's cussing us out, he's pointing fingers at the whole sideline and the coaching staff, like, basically he's just being embarrassed and thought it was classless and unsportsmanlike. And we're like, dude, what do you want us to do? You want us to kneel? You want us to kneel the ball? Like, just it turns into 9 on 7. That's how this works there, Keith. So just stop the run, and then we won't score on you. So, just a lot goes into that game and that win. And yeah, man, individually it was fun. It was fun to be a part of it, make some plays, and the interception was really just a coverage thing. We made Romo sort of just double clutch, and then I just kind of adjusted my drop just off of his eyes, and he threw the ball kind of right to me. So, listen, I've dropped a lot of interceptions in my day. That one would have been painful if I would have dropped that one, especially in that key moment. So it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can also remember I think Romo he had just broken up with Jessica Simpson or something, and there was a lot of fans dressed up as Jessica Simpson, and I was just some little kid, and I was just like, what is going on? Is that
here? Right? I remember like he got in trouble, or people were upset that he and Jason Witten, I think on a bye week, went to like Mexico with their celebrity girlfriends or whatever. And
yeah, it could have been something like that. But I remember they just kept showing him on the Jumbotron, these fans dressed up as like his ex-girlfriend, and the crowd was just going insane, like just trying to get into his head. And obviously it worked, because Cowboys didn't even stand a chance.
Yeah.
Man, that was such a fun game. Was there ever a player that you just absolutely hated to tackle? Either you were going into that week and you were like, this dude's a load, or you saw him coming through the hole and you were just like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. Was there ever a guy like that?
Dude, easy, because I played in the era. Now I don't envy anybody that has to tackle Derrick Henry. No chance. But I played against the bus. And you're watching Jerome Bettis the whole week long preparing for this game, and he's just trucking people. And, the coaching staff is just like, okay, it's all about getting penetration and get him to stop his feet. And it's almost kind of like, no, guys, he's a mortal human being. We just have to stop his feet and get him to stop in the backfield. Don't let him have a full head of steam. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a lot easier said than done. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and he can catch out of the backfield a little bit too. So he was one that truly gave me nightmares preparing for, and then playing in the game. Yeah, I had one situation where I thought I stopped him on a 3rd and short situation, and he just barreled ahead for like 4 yards and picked up the first down, and I'm like, I don't know how else I don't know how much harder I could have hit you. Like, I blitzed from the outside. I hit him right in the side of the head, and and he just kept going. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. This guy is just a monster.
Yeah, that's an easy. Was it a cold weather game, or
no? It was a home game against when I was in San Diego. So it was in San Diego. Okay. I think it was. Regardless what time of year it would never be considered a cold game.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, it's. You mentioned Derrick Henry, and it's like Derrick Henry in the playoffs in these cold weather games. I can't even imagine how these dudes do it. It's like one good, even when you like wrap him up around the thighs, it's just like he's still going, he's still moving. And that kind of leads me to my next question is like, did tackling Adrian Peterson in practice like make everything so much easier?
No, thankfully we never had to tackle him in practice.
Okay, well, that's good then.
Yeah, he was as close to a red jersey as you could get. All the quarterbacks wear the red jerseys. We did have some live moments. But especially when Childress is the head coach, a lot of people thought that Childress was sort of this easygoing West Coast philosophy, and that's kind of true to a point, but we practiced hard with him. And it wasn't just year one. It was every time that, for all the years that he was the head coach. Our training camps were rough. And Now the season he would lighten up a little bit, but we were banging quite a bit, and we had a bunch of live periods. And now fortunately, I was never really one on one with him when we did those periods, so it was never like an issue. And then throughout the course of the season, I mean, it's ones versus the scout team, ones versus twos versus ones. So we never practiced against him once training camp was over.
I gotcha. Was there ever a moment in practice or maybe even a preseason game where you were just like, okay, this dude's a little bit different? Like we might have gotten one with Adrian Peterson here.
Well, you knew pretty early on when you saw him in OTAs, that first OTA minicamp, and you saw this guy turn the corner, and he was just like a quarter horse, just like taking off, and sort of in a majestic, awe-inspiring way, much like when you see horses and animals run in slow motion, you see like every striation of muscle in their legs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way he was. Like he would run around the side, around the edge, and we'd be watching practice. I remember one time we're just like taking a knee, and he takes this one. I think it was a practice maybe after the Bears game when he went off for like 200 some yards or something like that, or maybe it was a Chargers game when he set the record or something. And it was like the first Wednesday back, and he hits the corner and just takes off, and we're like, dude, like, first of all, calm down. Like, we need you for the whole season. Like, we know that you can run. And we all looked at each other like, this guy is just so crazy different. And, he just had muscles upon muscles, and just, he was like built like armor. It was crazy. And we noticed that the very first OTA. But I would say individually, he's legendary for his strong hands. When he handshakes you, he like wants to break.
Oh, yes.
We would do pass blitzing against the running backs all the time, and it was either me or EJ always going against Adrian, and we were always like, we would want to go against the best, right? And we'd lose some, we'd win some, but when he latched onto you, and you just didn't have a counter move, there was no getting off. Like it was like legit vice grips when he grabs onto your jersey or your shoulder pads, and you're like, I'm done. Like you might as well just give up, because you're not going to break his hands down. No. There's nothing you can do. Maybe flip around and try to get a holding call or something. But no, feeling those vice grip hands, that was crazy.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because my dad, he sang the national anthem at a Vikings game way back when I was a kid, but he told me he shook Adrian Peterson's hand on the way off from the field, and he said he has never forgotten that handshake since that moment, just because of how hard and the pure strength that he shook that hand with. My dad's like, I will never forget that. Just how he shook that hand. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like the kids say again, he is built different. He just everything about him is just strong.
He is. And obviously the last non-quarterback to win an MVP, and I tweeted this out the other day. I think the only dude who could contest to that 296 mark would be Saquon Barkley. Just the way he's running the ball this season. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, last non-quarterback MVP, and people are talking about Barkley this season, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it'll like ever happen the way they give out these awards nowadays.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's much like the Heisman, although the Heisman will probably it'll change this year and be a non-quarterback, but and rightfully so, because Hunter's just, he's just on a whole other level as far as athlete. But, Saquon's, he's already knocking at the door for single season highest rushing totals. I mean, he's kind of on pace to do it, and he could do it. He's having an incredible year.
100%. Getting back to this current Vikings team, what do you think what factors have made this defense such a special unit? And I have a certain player I want to highlight after, and I'm sure you'll mention them here, but is it a factor of scheme, personnel, luck? I mean, I would imagine it's all of the above to a little bit, but I mean, you're on the sideline every game, right? So I mean, what do you see down there that stands out to you?
Well, I would say, for the most part, you create your own luck. I mean, there are lucky things in life, but when it comes to performances and on-field stuff, I mean, you create your own luck. And there might be some situations like, oh, that was a lucky tipped pass or whatever, but a lot of that's taught, and a lot of that is scheme. And so I think they do create sort of their own luck in that sense. I don't have the final number in front of me, but I think we went into the game with this last game with 71 tackles for loss, which is top 5. We had picked up 4 more, so we have 75 tackles for loss. That right there, that sets you up for every blitz package, every second or third and long situation. I think that's where we've been really, really special this year, is our penetration of the offensive line, whether it's via the blitz, whether it's via defensive line movements, or just guys making individual plays and just being taught a philosophy to get up the field and attack. We're getting people behind the line of scrimmage, whether it's a first down, second down, or third down. And like I said, it sets up, what B-Flow wants to do. He wants to harass you. He wants to confuse you. He wants to put the pressure on the offense, and he does not want to play reactionary football. He wants to take it to the offense, and that's best done in longer yardage situations. So they're not perfect. I wish that we were better taking away some of those middle of the field intermediate throws. That seems to be our Achilles heel. But when we blitz so much and we account for so much in the rush scheme, we only have 5-6 guys in coverage sometimes. And if the offense knows where the vulnerability is going to be, and they know what zone defense we're going to be in, they can find the holes, and teams certainly can do that and rack up the yards. But we are really good in the red zone. We're really good at taking the ball away and creating our own luck. So at the end of the game, not a lot of points are scored. There might be a lot of yards, but not a lot of points are scored, and we're going to make some difference-making plays.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the bend don't break mentality, I feel like it's a smart one to have nowadays, especially if you're really good on that don't breaking part. Like yesterday, I mean, if you let up field goals, it's like that offense with all those weapons is eventually going to come through. It's like they're going to get in the end zone. Like that's what you have to bank on. So it's like if you're letting up field goals, that's fine. And it's funny you mentioned creating your own luck, and I feel like Kyler Murray, when there's 7 guys coming at him and he steps back yesterday and just throws the ball into the air and Byron Murphy is there to catch it, like some people would look at that and say it's luck, but that's literally creating your own luck. He has to throw that ball because everybody's coming at him and it's 3rd and 8, whatever it was. That is creating your own luck right there. As a former linebacker yourself, I feel like Blake Cashman has been the most crucial piece to this defense all season. I think that, the 2 games he was out, we lost. And then I think he missed 1 more and we won. And then he came back. But it's like he's just been an impact maker on this defense the entire season. As a former linebacker yourself, what do you see from him that impresses you the most?
I mean, it's a long list of things that impresses me. I mean, his intelligence, his desire to get to the football, his desire to make plays, and he's obviously a good tackler. He's a great blitzer. He understands pass dropping schemes. And I think that was an area that I think got exposed the most when he was out. Was Ivan Pace is a great downhill player, and he's a great blitzer. He can stop the run. But having Ivan Pace on the field for all 3 downs as the green dot linebacker, it just doesn't give us enough in the pass game. To have him drop back in coverage, to have either Grugier Hill or Metellus, or even at times, they were like messing with the lineups the whole time. Van Ginkel was playing inside linebacker at times, and that's just not a very natural position for him.
Dallas Turner a couple snaps.
So I think you could even physically see them trying to find a way to replace Cashman. So he's definitely probably up there with one of the most valuable players on defense. I don't know where this defense would be without Gink or Gernard, but certainly we've already seen it without Cash, and it's a wildly looking defense with him not in the lineup.
Yeah, 100%. Are there any linebackers that you kind of maybe coming out of college, high school, that you watch that you kind of look up to? Or maybe any current ones in the NFL that maybe that you really like to watch?
I was actually a really big fan. I wouldn't say I wasn't like a card carrying member
Mhm.
of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I really enjoyed Derek Brooks. I loved watching John Lynch play. Um, Barber out in the corner, Allstott running the football. So from a linebacker standpoint, I just like the way Brooks played. It seems like he could do it all, and he was a very intelligent linebacker. And not to say that I didn't try to mimic him or mold my game after him. I just really enjoyed everything that he was doing. And I think the Luke Kuechly's of the world are sort of like in that same mold of do it all linebackers. They play with this fierceness and toughness, and then we all come later on kind of find out about their intelligence of the game. And I think that Brooks was one of those guys. And then obviously playing with Junior Seau when I was in San Diego, didn't pay attention to him as much when I was a kid growing up, and in college. You obviously knew about it. Everybody knew about him. I mean, he'd been to like 9 straight Pro Bowls by the time I got there. But just being with him, watching him be a professional, watch how he attacked every single day. I mean, that's a guy that I tried to mimic, even though I fell, significantly short trying to live up to what he had created. But he was a great motivator.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough to live up to what he did for sure. So from anyone's standards. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Ben. Your last thoughts here on the season. I mean, what are your predictions for the rest of this season, and then maybe some future plans moving forward for this Vikings team?
Well, look, I mean, we all know that this is a playoff team. I mean, we're almost certainly a playoff team. I think we're like
Yeah, I just saw Will Regitz. He's came on the show a couple of weeks ago. He just tweeted out here. Let me read it here, just to give you an idea of how close we are. Where to go here? I think it was we need to win. We need the Cardinals to lose. And I think it was one more team. Here we go. Vikings can clinch a playoff spot this week with a win over the Falcons, a Cardinals loss, and a Rams loss.
okay.
That's all
So
it takes.
we're already playing out those scenarios to clinch a spot. I think the point is, I think we're 99% sure that we're going to be a playoff team. So let's just go
Mhm.
with that. We're a playoff team, and anything can happen. I'm not going to declare. I'm not going to be drinking the purple Kool-Aid and just be like, oh my gosh, we're going to win the Super Bowl. But I think for every team that gets in the playoffs that feel like they have a legitimate chance, I think that we have a legitimate chance.
Mhm.
Does the Cardinals fan base feel the same way? Does Atlanta's? Does Tampa's? Does Seattle? Probably not. I mean, they might say, "Hey, we're a playoff team," but like, are you really? I mean, just kind of barely winning a pretty soft division. Does that mean you're a
Right.
Super Bowl contender? I think everybody knows that looking at our division, how close we played the Lions, how much better I think that we still can be and polish some things up. That we should compete, we should contend, and there's no reason why we shouldn't challenge to put ourselves in the Super Bowl. And that's gonna be fun to watch and play out. Now, as far as the rest of the next season goes and stuff, man, if McCarthy is everything that they say he is, we could be right back here talking, you and I talking in early December about what our playoff chances look like and what we can do, because this kid sounds special. And if
Yeah.
he's healthy, there's no telling, how many times we can go to the playoffs and maybe how many Super Bowls we can win.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the recipe to have nowadays is rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, and then you fill it around from there. And from what I went to training camp, and I'm no football guru or nothing, but towards the end of training camp, I mean, everyone was talking about McCarthy and Darnold being, right there. Like you were always going to start Darnold, just from a, veteran standpoint versus a rookie, but it's like they were neck and neck towards the end of that training camp. And, when McCarthy started, I don't think they were even close to even considering starting him. So it's like improving every day. I wish he could have played this season just to see a little bit, gotten used to
Yeah.
it. But, sitting out a year might not be the worst thing for him. So,
No, I think given his actual his actual physical age of being 21. I mean, he'll be 22 here in January coming up. He's a young dude, man. And I think having him sit for the season, healthy or not, was probably the best course for him. So unfortunately he had to sit because of his knee issue. But I'm all for sitting these young quarterbacks, especially when you are that young, and you just get to, he gets to sit back and watch and see how it's done and see how it's played at a high level. And I think the best thing for him too is that Darnold's not going out there throwing for 350.
Right.
You know, he is sort of just managing the game and taking what the defense can give him, and he's not making mistakes. I'm like, hey,
Right.
JJ, if you go out there and just not make mistakes and just take care of the football and don't make a ton of risky throws, like we want him to, take some shots here and there, but take some calculated risks, not a Kyler Murray, throw the ball up, 50 yards in the air and just hope your guy comes down with it. Don't make those mistakes. He's seeing Sam take care of the football, and the results of that is you're going to win a lot of football games.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, Ben, I appreciate you hopping on. We'll definitely have to do this again. The listeners are going to love this. Great stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you hopping on, and go Vikes.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that fantastic interview with Ben Leber. We're definitely going to have him on again. Great stuff. Great insight. Always love talking to former players. They know the ins and outs of everything, and they have so many fun stories that like blow my mind and blow everyone's mind, just to like the average person, because the stuff they experience in the locker room, on the field, it's amazing stuff. Tracking my Minnesota Vikings punishment. If you're new here, I made a list of punishments that I have to do if the Vikings lose the corresponding games. Obviously, I've only had to do 2 this season. Last week was the Cardinals, and for a shot at Kyler Murray, I had to get a 5.0 KD ratio in a Call of Duty game. Obviously, don't have to do that. Good thing I didn't, because I played COD this past weekend with my brother, and I suck at it. So that would have taken me a very long time. This weekend, if the Vikings lose to the Falcons, I have to make a presentation on what I would do with Kirk Cousins' career earnings as a Minnesota Viking. So that'd be fantastic. I think that would be a good one for content, and I think people will enjoy that. So we've already talked. Let's get into the preview here. Vikings versus Falcons. We've already talked about Kirk Cousins a lot, and of course, why wouldn't we? I mean, this is the headliner of the game. It might be one of the most anticipated returns in Minnesota sports history, and I mean that when I say that. After I can't think of another Vikings player that has had a return that's been more anticipated than this. Kirk was one of the most controversial athletes in Minnesota sports history because of the amount he got paid, the performance that followed the amount he got paid, and he had the fan base so 50-50 that half of them loved him, half of them hated him. And I think with the success of Sam Darnold this season, a lot of people have turned to realize that Kirk Cousins wasn't a necessity here. And I'm kind of on that boat too. I love Kirk Cousins because he was the quarterback of my favorite team. I'm not going to hate the quarterback of my favorite team, especially when he was playing good. He was playing fantastic most years. He did exactly what the Vikings need him to do, but he was handicapping everybody else with that contract of his, to where now I'm on the page of you pay a cheap quarterback to do what KOC wants him to do, because KOC can craft anyone into anything he wants them to be. So now I'm kind of on that boat. If I was at the game, would I boo Kirk Cousins? Probably, because you got to think, people are going to be in there. They're going to have a couple warm beverages in them. They're going to be feeling good, and they're going to hear Kirk Cousins for the other team, and they're going to boo him. And I don't mind that at all. It's the opponent. You should always boo the opponent. Make it a factor. Make it loud in there. Make it absolute hell for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a great guy, but between the white lines, it's football. The Vikings need a win. The Falcons need a win. And both those guys are going to do whatever it takes to win that football game. I don't mind booing them at all. The Falcons offense has a lot of weapons. It might cause some issues for the Vikings, especially if Stephon Gilmore is out. That is to be determined as of now. But this Falcons defense is trash. I don't know how this Falcons defense is going to cover all of our weapons. I just don't know if they can do it. The Vikings might put up a 40 burger. This might be the game where the Vikings get back on track offensively, like consistently scoring up and down the field. Let's make it look easy. That would be amazing if that could happen. Can you imagine if Sam Darnold goes for like 4 touchdowns against Kirk Cousins and Kirk throws like 3 picks or something? That'd be an unbelievable storyline. Last thing on this game, Justin Jefferson states he hasn't talked to Kirk Cousins since he left Minnesota. People had me convinced that Kirk and JJ were best friends. They haven't even talked once since he left. I guess I'm not really surprised by it, but I kind of am at the same time, because like even just Kirk seems like the guy that he would like check in on someone, but at the same time, I guess not. All right, we're gonna finish it off. With our ChatGPT player of the day. Name the most random Vikings player you can think of, ChatGPT. I'm going to guess. I feel like I always have the same guesses. I'm going to go guess Terrence Newman, cornerback. Here we go. They said, how about Chester Taylor? Damn, I actually could have gotten that one. He was a running back for the Minnesota Vikings from 2006 to 2009, had some solid season, but he's often forgotten when people talk about team's history. That's true. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Fantastic. Maybe the best episode we've had all podcast long. I don't know. You guys have to let me know. Appreciate you guys. My DMs are always open. Strictly Latent on Instagram. I answer almost everybody who messages me, unless you're saying some crap that I don't want to answer. But if you say what's up, you want to talk Vikes, let's do it. I'm always down. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys are the best. You guys make me be able to do this full time. I love it. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.